What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Couple on Fire podcast. Today, season 3, episode 3, we have an amazing interview coming up right now, and that's coming up
right now.
Well, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know this yet, we have an event coming up in April on April 10th.
Yeah.
And we are so absolutely excited to be able to just come and just, be in community with other blended families. We have this really, really cool couple that's going to show up and come and bring some edutainment and some fun. They have been in the marriage industry for almost 30 years. They are incredibly hilarious. They're incredibly fun. But most importantly, they're incredibly encouraging. And if you've never had an opportunity to meet Jay and Laura Laffoon,
they're incredible.
Today's your day. So let's introduce Jay and Laura Laffoon. Welcome to the show.
You make us sound old.
Well, wise.
Excited to do April 10th with you too. We're so excited to do that perfectly blended family. We're just so excited. It's just going to be great.
It is.
We're excited. Yeah, I don't ever get to see you guys. I don't get to see you guys as much as he does or talk to you. So I'm just excited to be able to see you guys.
Well, that's our loss.
3 weeks since we saw you, Kristy.
Yeah.
Yesterday we saw Josh.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I know.
You know why? Because you have a real job. The rest of us just sitting.
I know. Dang.
Yeah. So
seriously, we are super excited about April 10th and the idea of encouraging, blessing, equipping blended families. That's what we want to be about. We've got blended families in our own family of influence, and we've seen the best and the worst. And we want to give you guys just such props for putting this thing together.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, that's super nice of you. It's nerve-wracking. It's scary, but I believe anything you step out in faith is going to be that way. So, we really feel like, it's something that to be able to honor and glorify God through it. And so we'll just trust him in the process. But we are overly excited to do this.
Yeah, we are.
Overly excited to do this. So do us a favor. If nobody knows who you are, like I said, they're probably living under a rock. Why don't you go ahead and share with everybody a little bit about who Jay and Laura Laffoon are?
Who are we, honey?
Well, we're marriage edutainers. We travel the country doing ultimate date nights. This was pre-COVID, and now post-COVID, we're beginning to get some more, which ultimate date nights are 90 minutes of music, comedy, and fun for couples. We come into churches, we bless couples with fun and laughter and biblical truth about marriage. And then we also do a couple of conferences at a place called Grand
Hotel on Mackinac Island. That's right. In May and October, we do Celebrate Your Marriage at Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. In May and October, this year it's May 23 and 24 and October 3 and 4.
Wow, I'm impressed that she remembered that.
I know, seriously. I have to go look it up on my calendar every time I post it on social media. But
it's called Celebrate Your Marriage for a reason.
Because we're all about celebration.
And that's because we want to encourage you. We want to equip you to really understand that God intended marriage to be a celebration.
And that's actually how we met Josh and Kristy, was at Celebrate Your Marriage.
Mm-hmm. And then I stalked you guys because I went and got selfies with you guys, which is what I do. And then I'm like, I looked at him and I'm like, I wonder, we want to get into like blended marriages. I'm like, what better than to get a couple that's been in the marriage industry for a while? I'm like, I wonder if they would be on our podcast. And he's just like, no. And then he was like, didn't you get pictures with them? And he goes, why don't you, if you message them, send them the picture you took so they know that you're not a creeper,
So clearly, Kristy, you're the brains of the operation. There's no question.
Let's just be honest, right? Let's just be honest.
Right. Now, here's the deal. When you guys contacted us, it was like no brainer. Blended families need encouragement. They need equipping. And if you guys are about that, then we want to be all about it.
Yeah. And we're all about you guys. I mean, we are. I talk about you guys so much. We're coming to the event in May. We're already signed up and going, and we just love it. We just went to one of your ultimate date nights, which you guys know, in Alma, and that was so much fun. So I encourage anybody that's married or thinking about getting married even, to go. It's so much fun, and they do give truths.
It is, but you
Well,
do it with the edutainment, which is really, honestly, it makes it. I mean, who wants to sit through a full lecture, right? People are just talking at you, right? Nobody wants to do that, right?
Neither one of us do.
Yeah. So, but you make it so engaging and so fun, but at the same time, you're kind of giving it to us, And it's so at the same time, it's like I'm learning, I'm being challenged, and I'm enjoying it. So,
and you make people get up and clap their hands and stuff.
Well,
Try and do this.
Yeah, what's interesting is Proverbs 17:26 or 17:22, sorry, says laughter doeth like good medicine.
I think it's 13.
Anyway, it's in Proverbs.
I wrote it today, but I can't remember what it was.
And what we understand is this: if we can get you laughing as a couple together, to us, there's nothing more attractive. And I don't mean this sexually. I mean just pulling together as husband and wife. There's nothing more attractive than hearing your spouse laugh. Because when you hear your spouse laugh, there's a chemical connection there of, oh my goodness, they're enjoying themselves. This is wonderful. So we get you laughing, and then we interject biblical truth. And because you're soft, your heart's soft, you're laughing. It's like, oh, that makes sense. And, I don't know why God has gifted us with that ability, but he has. And, this is what we're going to bring April 10th to your event and to our Celebrate Your Marriage event in May, is this idea of when you learn to celebrate together, you really learn to grow as a couple.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. So, today we really want to kind of focus on something that's actually, it's really hard to talk about in marriages, first off, but in Christian marriages, we want to make sure that we follow what God's telling us, what the Bible tells us, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. And so, we really want to talk about putting your spouse first, and share us with a little bit of experience with you in that regard.
You want to go first?
You go ahead.
Okay, so here's my take on that. It's a great question, because it really is, as you stand at the altar, it's what you want to do. But you got to think about this. You spent the first 21 to 26 years of your life thinking only about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. My education, my career, my dream marriage, my whatever. And then you get married and you realize, oh my goodness, that's not what it's all about. I love this person and I need to put her first. So there's a whole paradigm shift that has to take place, whether you're in your 20s or your 30s or whatever place you're at. You have to have this paradigm shift that says, oh, it's not about her making me happy or her putting me first. It's about me putting her first. And both of you have to have the same paradigm shift.
And I think, yes, that's the paradigm shift that has to happen when you first get married. But then you bring on the children, and then it all, I'm trying to figure out what to say on a podcast that I wouldn't get in trouble for. But, it blows it to bits, because as a mother, we think, he's an adult. He can take care of himself. He can make his own meal. He knows I love him, blah, 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 blah. I need to take care of these children who can't take care of themselves, which is not true. We think we still need to make our spouse number one priority, because that speaks to our children. That, this is good. This is mom and dad are a priority. Not that the kids aren't a priority, but they have to, as a mother, and I'm speaking to mothers, they have to be your kids have to be your second priority. Your husband has to remain your first priority, even though he's an adult, he can take care of himself, blah, 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 all of that. Your kids need to see, and research has shown that this has to be the number one priority for the health of your children, the emotional health, the mental health, socially, all of that. Your kids need to see that your relationship is a priority, and that makes them feel safe, secure, and then they can, really relish in life.
So, okay, for those of you that don't know, Laura and I are Christ followers. We love Jesus, and we believe that he is the number one priority in our life. But a close second, because God ordained it, is this thing called marriage. And when you put your marriage first, above your kids, gentlemen, above your job, your career, when you put your marriage first, what you communicate to the most important people in the world, and that is your children, that this priority is going to make sure that the rest of the priorities are in proper place. And that's the hard thing to understand. No, I've got to have a good job so I can provide for my kids so they can go to college. You know what? The kids need to see mom and dad making out in the kitchen more than they need to go to college.
Well,
Sorry.
making out's a little, you know.
Amen.
Amen. Yes. You know, University of Minnesota, University of Chicago, these are secular universities, have all done studies showing that when you make your spouse number one, your kids, like Laura said, are healthier, emotionally healthier, do better in school, do better socializing with other kids. Why? Because they feel secure.
Yeah.
Mom and dad are there together. Okay, I can navigate life.
That's true.
It's so true.
It is.
You know, it's Laura, you say, when it comes to a mother and her children, I really think the children are really the thing that really make it difficult. So not everybody has an opportunity, right, to get married and spend an X amount of time together alone with your spouse until there's children, right? A lot of times children come first, and that's an unfortunate event, and it happens, or children come right away. You don't really get to spend that precious time with each other. And then it's the motherly instinct really to kind of say, okay, it's now my job now is to care for my child. And the husband's like, okay, I guess that's kind of how it's supposed to go. So now I'll go golf all the time or work all the time, like Jay said.
Exactly.
So now the waters are apart. So,
or be in the garage.
Or both.
Or be in the garage all the time.
Right. Or be in the garage. So my question to you is in your own personal marriage, when did you guys really realize okay, this is kind of coming off the tracks, or did you really feel like you had a good grasp of it in in
Well, no, we didn't have
No.
a good grasp of it in the beginning, but
Okay,
here's
clearly. No one does, because you're in uncharted territory.
he asked me the question. So anyway. So let me talk. So we were married 7 years before our first one. So we had that time together. Now, having a child, totally upends your world. And then we waited another 7 for the second one. So we thought that was smart. And it was sort of smart in that we had, one child at a time, 7 years apart. But really, when they got older was when we really realized that at moments, at times, at seasons, we were not on the same page for raising these kids.
Even here as we age.
Yes, even as we age and they're adults, we're still not on the same page. They're adults. And so it's a constant battle, but you have to be aware of it. And the sooner you can become aware of the fact that those little devils just worm their way right in. So let's be honest here. We are grandparents now of a little 10-month-old precious baby girl, but boy, do we see her working her parents already. I mean, I think it's instinctual in children that they just know. I can get this one, but I can't get this one. Like our granddaughter, she can get her dad. Her mom's a little firmer, which is good, but they just instinctually know. So as a couple, you have to really take that time, for our kids who are married and have this little 10-month-old beautiful grandchild. They need to take the time at night after she's gone to bed to just be together, the two of them. And it helps them to connect and to get on the same page. And so that's really a way that couples can do that. But for us, because we had them so far apart, it was a little bit easier. But then then it was a season of 14, 20 years of 2 children spanned out that we were not on the same page a lot of the time. And we really had to connect with each other and say, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't good conversation. It wasn't easy conversation, but to say, you know what? You put her first before me. And that's him saying that to me because that was true. I was always like, our daughter went through, a lot in high school and sickness and illness that we weren't sure what it was. And so as a mother, I was wanting to take care of her and neglecting him. And he's like, dude, I need help over here.
I've never called you dude.
Well, whatever. I think you have actually.
Anyway,
help me here. Help me understand what's going on, because I'm feeling left out and you're taking care of her. And then, and then there's even times as they get older that, a child feels like an adult child feels like they connect more with one parent than they do with another. And you have to take care of that too. So we tell people all the time, just because they're out of your house doesn't mean you're done parenting, And so the earlier you can figure that out, the better off you're going to be.
So Josh, to answer your question,
you see that face too? She's like, excuse me.
It is an ongoing process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you wish as parents, okay, boom, we've got it. Now we've got it. It changes. It's a fluid situation that continually changes. And I don't think we had a grasp on it. I really don't. Until we were in our late 30s, early 40s, where we were working together going, okay.
Well, yeah, the second child was like 4 by then because we waited.
Right.
So
I mean,
long.
it was one of those things where it's like, okay, we need to be together. We need to put ourselves first. And honestly, for so many marriages out there, that's a tough thing. And if you've gone backwards in that, it becomes even harder to go forward. But when you go forward, it becomes extremely fulfilling.
Yeah, Josh and I struggle with that still, especially because we get so busy and we can stretch ourselves so thin with everything that we have going on. I know that I'm guilty of this, that finally when, our kids are older now, the youngest one's 17, so they don't need us for much, but we're so busy doing other things and then paying attention to our kids because I'm starting to get that empty nest. Like I only have a little bit of time left with them, and they're going to be gone. And
exactly.
But then we lay down in bed at night, and I'm guilty of this. This is a time that him and I could really connect and talk about our day and really spend time with each other. And I sometimes will selfishly be like, I don't ever get any time just to play on my phone or to just zone out. And so then we'll find ourselves laying in bed right next to each other, and we're just on our phones, just like aimlessly zombieing, scrolling Facebook and things like that. And that can go on for a couple weeks sometimes before one of us is like, we need to stop, go out to dinner. We need to really spend some time together where we're looking at each other. We don't have our phones and reconnecting with one another. So it's something like you said, you think you get it. And then all of a sudden 3 months will go by and you're like, wait a second, the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've really been off track. We're not really on the same page with things. So you have to keep it in check and always be aware.
What's really interesting is even today, Laura and I were working on our new website, and we're creative people, but we're not technical people. So working on a website is like mind blowing,
numbing, mind numbing.
And Laura finally said, "Can we just go out for lunch?"
Oh.
And it was like that. Okay.
I wanted to throw the computer against the wall, right. But then
we were working on something that was not bringing us together. Laura's love language is quality time. And so what she said to me is, do you love me?
Yeah,
do you love me enough to say, let's go out for lunch? So we went out for lunch, and it was like, you know what? Whoosh.
Yeah.
And again, whether it's a couple weeks of being on the phone, so you've got your alone time, or a couple weeks of not being intimate, those kind of things, they're habits that are easy to slip into.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so many people think that being intimate is all about the sex. It's not.
Right.
No, it's not. It's about sharing something with your spouse that you share with no one else. And that, whether it's lunch, whether it's coffee, whether it's just we're going to lay in bed and hold each other and talk about our day, those are the kind of things.
Although I would start sweating if we did that.
Of course. Yes.
He's waiting for those days because I'm always cold.
Need some anti-wicking material on between you two.
They'll come, Josh. Trust me. You're the one that's cold and she's the one that's hot. It's gonna happen at some point. But but those kind of things where they're simple, they're not complex, and yet they're so important in marriage. And whether you've been married 2 years or 20 years or whatever, that connection is saying, I'm going to put down my phone and make you my priority. And that's what we're talking about tonight, is making our spouse our priority.
Yeah.
That's very good. Yeah, you know, and it's funny because I think, to me, it's encouraging. So we're speaking to a couple that has spent their adult life educating and training the general public on marriage. And, you know, you've done a phenomenal job, but you're sitting here saying, you know what, we've struggled with this the majority of our adult life, but we get, well, I mean, there's an apple involved. We get it. All right. We already know how it all started. But it's important that people know that it's not about getting it perfect. It's about making it a priority. Exactly what Jay said, you know, and we have to make sure that we're fully intentional. Now, life gets busy and hectic, but we have to constantly be like, listen, babe, we don't have enough time together. We need to have some time, dude. We need to have some time together. But, you know, I think it's encouraging to hear you guys, you know, you're not perfect, you know, and that makes people like us that feel really, really, really imperfect feel just a little bit better, you know, about the parts
like
that we
how
do
long do we have to go around this mountain?
Right.
You know,
and that's true.
The issue is, are you making a titch bit of progress every day? So we've already said this several times because it's in the forefront of our mind. We're building this new website. Josh is helping us. And we're creatives. We are not technical people. And today was just like, seriously, I was ready to throw my computer against the wall. It's way simpler than we're making
like
it.
6 times.
Yeah. And I just kept saying, I'm just done. I would walk away. And at the end of the day, after we'd shut the computers down, we'd plugged them back in. About an hour later, Jay just looked at me and said, do you feel like we made progress? I said, oh, absolutely. He said, so it's all worth it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in your marriage. Do you feel like you made progress? And if you feel like you made progress, everything else is all worth it. The disagreements, the feeling like you're imperfect, the feeling like you don't get it right, it doesn't matter because we're all human. The Bible tells us that we all sin and we fall short of the glory of God. But did you make just a little bit more progress today than you did yesterday in some area of your marriage?
One of my favorite books is by a man named Dan Sullivan called The Great Crossover. And it's a book about communication in the business world. But one of his premises is progress over perfection. And I think so often in our married life, we think, well, it has to be perfect, right? We're in love. People think we're in love. We need to be, no. You're two flawed human beings, and we can admit that. I mean, I've got tons of flaws. Laura has one. But bottom line is,
and it's you.
Babe.
So can these two flawed people make progress in their relationship today?
Yeah.
And if we do, awesome. If we don't, we got tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then we try again tomorrow. And I think that's, you know, one of the things we really try and encourage people is work every day.
Yeah.
And some days it's going to work and some days it's not. I mean, you know,
I'm going to get back on that stupid computer tomorrow and try and figure out what I didn't figure out today. And that's the same thing. You know, when you feel like today you failed at making your spouse a priority, then you know what? Get back at it tomorrow and see what's one way you can do it tomorrow. It may be a little tiny way. It may be a big way, but
I can tell you,
can do.
We've got a book. It's called More Talk. It's an ebook. It's called More Talk, More Sex. And for 80% of the couples out there, gentlemen, you need to talk more with your wife. You need to turn off the TV. You need to put your device down and you need to talk to her. Why? Because this is how she connects with you. And we say to the ladies, for 80% of the ladies, you need to have more sex with your husband. Why? Because that's how he connects with you. It's not about the sex. It's about the connection for him. And that's a very simple way to put your spouse first. More talk, more sex. And when you do that, you're like, well, gee, that's more enjoyable than we thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, we forgot how fun it is to talk and communicate with each other. To really, you know, oh, I'm so sorry you had a bad interaction with your boss today, or I'm so glad that you had a great sale today. And then to say, we're going to be intimate tonight. Why? Not because it's about sex, but it's because we love each other and we're going to connect on that level. And that's the kind of thing, when you do it, you reap tremendous rewards in how close you feel as a couple.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I appreciate that I hadn't done until literally last year is that, Kristy and I decided to come to celebrate your marriage, and we really wanted to come and just have an opportunity to just kind of check it out and see how you guys did it and stuff. But we walked away with so much more, right? We walked away with like, we need to do this more often, right? For our marriage and for each other, So, the next question that I really want to ask is, why do you believe, now I know that you do this for a living, but why do you believe that going to like one-day conferences together with your spouse or romantic weekends for celebrate your marriage, why do you believe like that's a powerful thing for putting your spouse first?
I think for women, we need to get away, and as mothers, we need to get away, from our children. The things around our house that need to be done, that every time you look at it, you go, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. And your
Laura
list
was
is
on
never
her hands
ending.
and knees at like 8 o'clock this morning, vacuuming under the refrigerator. Okay. Laura doesn't believe in God before 8 o'clock, but she's
But
vacuuming.
that refrigerator was bugging me.
Anyway,
there's, your kids, you just need to take a break. You need to take a break from the household chores. You need to take a break from your work. As women, our brains, and our friends Bill and Pam Farrell say this all the time, that women's brains are like spaghetti. Men's brains are like waffles, because as women, our brains are going like this all the time. And so we see something, we got to do it. Oh, we see something, we got to do it. And you just need to take a break, get away with your spouse. I mean, we actually what's today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In 3 days, we're leaving for Florida. Actually 5. We have to work before that. But we're going to Florida, and we are just lavishing in the fact and looking forward to going,
more talk and sex.
There you go.
More talk, more sex. On Monday, we're going to be sitting on a beach.
At our age, we're praying for that. Yeah.
At the same time, at this point. At the same time.
Talking is a guaranteed. But we're relishing in the fact that on Monday, we're going to be sitting on a beach, looking at the ocean, just sitting with each other.
Yeah.
Just talking. And the creative juices that happen, just the conversations that happen, the dreams, the goals, we have time to talk about. For us, when we go to Florida for spring break, it's always a time for us to reset. We reset from the winter and we go, okay, so here's what the spring and summer are going to look like. We're going to work till this time every day. Then we're going to go play golf or go for a walk. We're going to cook out. We plan everything. And do we make it happen every day? Absolutely not. Do we grill every day in the summertime? No, but we've talked about it, and it's a goal that we have out there. So it's really a reset when you can get away together without the normal routines of every day. It kind of gets your creative juices flowing, your dreaming juices, and it just gives you that reset button.
Our phrase that we share with couples all over the country is this: get away and get ahead. Okay. Do you want to get ahead in your marriage?
Yeah.
Then get away.
Right.
Because when you get away, we get countless emails from people that come up to Grand Hotel with us, go to celebrate your marriage, and they say the ride home was like minutes. We live in Detroit, which is 6 hours away from Mackinac City, but our conversation, the things we talked about, the way that we were encouraged, the way that we, the things we want to do in our marriage, it went like that. And so that's what happens when you get away. Now, whether it's to one of our Celebrate Your Marriage conferences, to the
just a day, like April 10th?
April 10th for blended families, when you invest in your marriage in that way, it reaps incredible dividends. And I mean, who doesn't want to win in their marriage?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly
agree.
right. That's a great way to put it. Who doesn't want to win? We're on the same team.
I think that is important that we need to remember that, right? Like we both want greatness for our children. We both want greatness for our grandchildren. You know, if we have them, we want those things. But, you know, the hierarchy of God tells us, right? We take God first and then, you know, then we got to do our spouses and then our children. And I think like for us, like, you know, we're talking about the blended family stuff. It's really hard. Like we come together as a blended family. It's like, you're not going to care about my child the way that I do. So I have to make sure that I put that person first, my child first, because you're not going to care about them the way that I do. But if we're in this new marriage, we have to make sure that we are communicating and saying, no, it's important that we are on a team. We are a team now. It's not Team Kristy and Team Josh. You know, it's Team Kristy and Josh. And that kind of gets lost in the way sometimes because we feel inside of ourselves, which we're trusting in ourselves. I understand that. But, you know, we feel in ourselves like nobody's going to care about this child the way that I do. And I would imagine even in nuclear families with you guys at one point, you're like, he doesn't love this my daughter as much as I love my daughter, or he doesn't understand her the way that I understand her, you know? So I think those things do get lost up. And like the drive home from Mackinac was incredible for us. The first time we ever went, it was like driving home and we're like glowing about it and talking and sharing and connecting.
And the food is amazing.
Well, that helps.
We talked about the food a lot.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, and it's true. You know, we have a great example of a wonderful blended family within our family. Laura's sister and her husband have been married over 25 years. Both of them came from divorced backgrounds, but they've made it work. And one of the things that we never heard them say.
He had 2 kids, she had 1, and then they had 1 together.
Right. So they've got 4 kids. One of the things we never heard them say was, that's your kid, that's my kid. It was always our kids. And it's I gotta believe, I don't know this because we're not in a blended family. I gotta believe that's incredibly big hurdle to overcome. But when you commit to, you know, when Josh and Kristy committed to each other, you committed to your entire being, which your kids were part of your entire being. And I think that's probably the most difficult thing for blended families, but yet one of the most fulfilling things when you do it and you realize, guess what? We've chosen to love the child of our spouse.
Right.
We weren't born into that. We've chosen to do that. And I think that's very much, and we've got friends who adopted their child and we feel like that's probably something they experienced, is that they didn't have their own natural child. They adopted the child and they chose to love that child. What a reflection of God the Father. To choose to love a child just because it's a child. And I commend you guys. I really do.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's
one of the things that I think is important about being in a blended family is that when you get married and you really make an effort to say we are on the same team, it's actually really good if you trust your spouse and you're being vulnerable with your spouse. If they come to you and these are hard conversations and they say, you need to realize how this specific situation that just happened, you appeared to put your child up here and my children down here. And when you're married, you have to be open to those conversations because you ultimately want the family to work. You want all the kids to feel stable and loved and like they're in a stable home and to grow up and be prosperous. So those are the things that were really hard that we called them bathroom talks. Like we would end up going in the bathroom and be in the bathroom for 3 hours sometimes, like just
duking it out.
Yeah.
Okay. That's hilarious because we wrote a book years ago called Make Love Every Day. And we talked about every room of the house.
How different communication happens in every room of the house.
And the communication that happens in the bathroom is crisis communication.
So true.
Yeah.
Because you can close that door, the kids are out,
and
you can talk about things that you don't talk about in front of them anywhere else. They
Yep.
ain't going to come in the bathroom and find dad on the pot. I mean, let's just be honest. You know?
Not smart.
Yeah.
That's what we did. It was in the bathroom. And the kids would know one family night, we would do family nights, family fun nights every Friday. And one family night the kids still talk about, we just sat down, just popped in a movie. And the next thing you know, him and I are gone. And we were in there for 3 hours. And the kids were like, some family fun night, you know, like watching the movie. They still talk about it. But a lot of good things, but did you make progress? You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's the way we would feel after the conversations is we would make progress, you know?
Here's two phrases that we encourage couples to use to help the communication process go better. The first one is, help me understand what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it felt hurtful to you, help me understand what you just said, because
Or help me understand this situation.
Right.
That
You know,
situation.
you-
help me understand.
you took your
Yeah.
kid bowling and didn't take all the kids bowling. You know, something like, help me understand why you did that. That's the first phrase that we absolutely love and encourage couples to share. The second is this: did you know how that made me feel?
Mm.
Because there's only one of two answers. Yeah, I did, and I'm a jerk, and
I said it anyway.
I said it anyway. Or no, I didn't, which is 99% of the time.
Yeah.
No, no, sorry, I didn't know how that made you feel. Tell me how it made you feel. And that opens up communication without condemning one another. And I think that's one of the most important things in marriage, is to have good communication without condemning one another, without
Benefit
making
of
the
the
other
doubt.
person. Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Exactly.
I think 90% of us are reactionary people.
What?
Yeah.
And so whether it's with
Mhm.
our kids or our spouse, we just react without thinking.
Mhm.
And so when you're in a blended family and you have multiple children on either spouse's side, and you just, my daughter comes to me and says this, I just react. I don't think in the moment how that's going to translate.
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
Spot on.
I don't know how many of us can do that. But in hindsight, when you talk to each other, you can say, do you realize how that made me feel, or help me understand? Then you get the reaction and you kind of backtrack and go, I really didn't. I didn't. And I'm sorry. And then I can learn from it. And the next time, maybe I won't react so quickly. But maybe I
probably
still
not.
will.
Probably not. But
It's just again, we all sin and fall short of the glory of
Progress,
God. And
not
that's why we
perfection.
have to give grace to each other in
Yep.
marriage, whether it's a nuclear family, a traditional family, a
Yep.
blended family, a third, fourth, fifth marriage. You just never know. But you have to continue to give grace to each other.
Yeah. Very
Yeah,
good.
I've like, you guys keep kind of bringing it right back to the same point, is we have to just be full on intentional. We really need to be intentional and not take everything personal. It's like with us in our marriage, we had to really kind of figure out each other, right? Because when we come from previous marriages into this marriage, we automatically have trust issues, automatically, right? So I can't fully put my trust that she's going to care for me in the way that I feel like I need to be cared for, and vice versa. So we have to constantly be intentional about bathroom talks and about, 3 hours of just getting there, just like you just think I'm being mean to you and your children, and I'm not. Like, that's not what's going on. But you keep bringing it back, and it's exactly right. Whether it's nuclear, whether it's third or fourth marriage, it doesn't matter. You have to be full on intentional, saying, this is my spouse. I need to make sure that I care for them first and foremost, and all things will flow from that. And I think it's beautiful advice.
Exactly. And in whatever kind of marriage that you're in, if you take care of this relationship first, is everything else going to be easy? No.
But it will be
But
easier.
it might come a tad bit easier because you have taken care of this relationship.
You're on the
built
same team.
this communication. You understand you're on the same team. And then everything else can kind of flow from that a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah. So the last question, and I really want to read this because I really, it's an important question, I think. It says, over your almost 30 years of experience in meeting other married couples, what do you think is the biggest challenge in deciding to put your spouse first?
Good question.
That's what I said.
What?
So no, say that again. Let me hear that again.
Okay, so what do you think is the biggest challenge? What is the biggest challenge in a marriage in deciding to put your spouse first?
Because you need to decide to do it.
You have to make a decision.
Yourself.
It's pride.
Yourself is the biggest challenge.
I
Getting over yourself.
And I go back to the fact that no matter who you are, you spent the first 20 plus years, and it was all about you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that selfishness, that self-centeredness, that it's still inside of me, that it's all about me, and she's supposed to make me happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing. That's pride. That's pride. No, Christ taught us to be selfless. Christ taught us to put others first. And that goes against, especially in our Western culture. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's awful.
I mean, how many of us have had this thought? You have a disagreement. I have. I'll be honest. We've had this disagreement. I know I'm right and I know he's wrong, but there's no way I'm going to apologize first. He should have to apologize first.
Right.
Why should I have to apologize first? Because I'm right. I mean, we have those conversations within ourselves, and that's just pride. That's just selfishness. As a Christ follower and someone who loves my husband, why wouldn't I apologize first? Well, because it's me. I mean, I don't want to have to admit that I'm wrong. I don't want to have to humble myself.
For the
I don't wanna have
852nd time.
Today.
Right. We have those thoughts, and that's all it is that it's pride, which is sinful. And again, it comes back to that grace. Why wouldn't I apologize first? Whether I'm right or wrong, you want to heal the relationship.
Right.
You want to start the healing of what needs to happen in this particular situation.
And, we're not perfect. We will never be perfect. But Billy Graham's wife, Ruth Bell Graham, said that great marriages are made of two great forgivers.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm going to be proud. She has to forgive me. She's going to be proud. I have to forgive her. And when we can do that, we're offering our spouse the grace that Christ has given us. And
because to be honest, Jesus could have said, I'm perfect. Why do I have to die on a cross for these idiots?
Yeah.
But you know what?
Yes.
That was his purpose in life. And so why wouldn't we take his example and say, why wouldn't I apologize to this idiot first? I mean,
yeah, because he said, forgive them, they know not what they do. And he could have said, these idiots don't even realize what they're doing.
Right.
They're sacrificing the only perfect human to ever walk the face of the earth. They're so dumb.
That's kind of what he was saying was forgive the idiots for they don't know what they do.
Forgive them for they know not what they do.
And you know what? But that's the case for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're not stupid, but we're ignorant. We don't know everything. And so sometimes
I do, but I'm just
helping. Yes, you do. Laura.
Just kidding.
But pride, understanding that we need to forgive each other and realizing that that's the first step in putting our spouse first. Yeah. And realizing you and your spouse are each other's biggest fans.
Yeah.
No one, this is sad but true. No one cares about you more than your spouse.
It's true.
So true.
Yeah. So realize that. And even in the worst days, that's true.
Yeah. And I think it's important to, like, Josh and I just had this conversation this week that, like Laura said, if let's just say I'm the one that always apologizes first, which isn't the case. It's not the case. I mean, that was a huge hurdle in our relationship for me to swallow my pride because I was so non-trusting, especially of men. And to go to him and say, hey, I want to apologize. I'm going to apologize first because I love you and I want to fix this relationship, and I want always to be on the same page. But I need to tell you how hard it is for me when I feel like I am the one that's always having to break first. I'm always the one that's having to bend first. And I want to do that because I want our relationship to be the strongest. But I need you to be open to bending sometimes because that's important to me to feel loved. And that was something I had to think about on my own because he did never come to me and say that, but he always was the one in the beginning of a relationship. And when I say beginning, I'm saying like first 4 or 5 years to come to me first and say, okay, I'm really sorry. And then it makes me feel dumb. Like, of course he apologized first. I should have just apologized. I don't know why I can't. I don't know why I just think of that movie, The Blind Side, when she says that to her husband, like, you were right. And he's like, how'd that taste? And she's like vinegar, That's the way I feel about it. And it's taken me a long time, but it does feel really good mutually for our relationship when I am just like, I'm sorry. Like, the goal isn't for us to fight.
Right.
I want to get along. I do. And I'm just being stubborn. And I am a pretty stubborn person.
So where do you guys fall in the birth order in your family?
I'm first.
I'm the second. I'm a middle kid.
Have you ever
He's
read
the middle child.
Have you ever read Kevin Lehman's book, The Birth Order Book?
No, but I've heard of it though.
Mm.
Yeah, it will give you tremendous insight into your relationship because, Kristy, I'm a firstborn, and we're firstborns. Okay, we know we're perfect. We know everything. We do it right because we're firstborn. But Kevin says that middle children,
High five there, Josh. That's us.
yeah, make the best spouses because they have learned to get along with both the older and the younger.
Oh.
Now, be grateful you didn't marry a baby.
Oh, they're bad.
They're the worst.
Yeah, if my sister's on, she knows.
But yeah, I would highly recommend that book, The Birth Order Book. It'll tell you a lot about yourself.
Oh,
about you and your
cool.
spouse,
Yeah.
Also about maybe your kids and how they are the way they are.
How they react.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Cool,
I love
yeah.
that. All right. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to talk a little bit about the two things coming up. Number one, we have something called Perfectly Blended. And I want to put this up on the screen if anybody hasn't seen it just yet. Perfectly Blended. It's coming up on April 10th. I want to let everybody know up until tomorrow, we will have 20% off on the ticket. So you're going to want to grab those right now. And I'll make sure to put the link down in the description. The one thing that's awesome about this event that we're having is it's for, sorry. Let me go back to here, bring you guys back. Sorry.
You're fine.
The one thing that is really awesome is that, what?
You spelled it wrong.
I did?
Yeah.
I'm trying to talk and everything all at the same time.
No. There's an extra E in there.
There's not.
Right there.
Perfectly. I think she was wrong. Perfectly blend. Okay, so now I can't talk and do it at the same time. I thought I was doing great. Okay, so there is the link to that so everybody knows. But I think it's awesome because not only is this going to be really helpful for people that are just married, but it's also going to be good for people that are part of blended families as a mom or as a dad. So it's going to be really a kind of an awesome, unique event that we're having on. So I want to let everybody know that if you're listening right now, go on, check the website out, look through, listen. There's a video of Jay and Laura on there. You can kind of see a little bit about them. There's a video that Kristy and I kind of talk a little bit about why we do this, why we are doing this, and there's a schedule on there. So check that out. It's April 10th. You're going to want to make sure you do that.
Put up really quick what Sarah said so they can see it.
Okay.
She says, I'm firstborn and my husband is the baby. It makes it interesting.
Yes, Sarah, our sympathies.
I say this with love, Sarah, but I bet you find yourselves at times trying to mother your husband because he's the baby. He needs to be taken care of. You're the oldest.
That's so funny. That's so funny. So I want to make sure that I have an opportunity here.
Hey, we want to reiterate, we are super excited about that April 10th event and the impact that we can have on blended families because we're going to be talking about making the most of a messy marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Our marriage is a mess. Your marriage is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to make the mess to that? And then the other thing we're going to talk about is the fact that he's going to say it one way and she's going to say it the other.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
A whole communication talk. So we're very excited about April 10th.
Yes, we are so looking forward to that.
We get to hang out with Kristy.
Yay! I know. I'm so excited. Finally.
All right. So the very next thing we want to talk about is something that Kristy and I are so excited. We're already pre-registered to go. So you're going to want to make sure that you get an opportunity.
We're telling
to do
every
that.
married couple we know.
Yes, is Celebrate Your Marriage. It is May 23rd to the 24th. If you haven't had an opportunity to come do this yet, I promise you it will be worth every second of your entire life. It's awesome.
Yes,
Do us
so much
do
fun.
us a favor though, guys. Tell everybody a little bit about Celebrate Your Marriage conference, please.
It's an overnight conference at Grand Hotel. One of the most romantic islands on the planet. Obviously, Mackinac Island, no cars, horse-drawn carriages, bicycles, foot traffic. At one of the most romantic hotels on the planet, Grand Hotel, front porch over 2 football fields long, rocking chairs lining the porch,
Yeah,
overlooking the Straits of Mackinac. And basically, it is celebrate your marriage. We're going to have you come. We're going to encourage you. We're going to uplift you. We're going to give you tools to learn to celebrate your marriage, all in the atmosphere of this incredibly romantic place. Gentlemen, if you get my drift.
And from right now until March 21st, which is the first day of spring, so 11:59 p.m., March 21st, if you register between now and then, you're going to get 2 of our books for free.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
it's a perfect time for you to register for the conference, and then you will get 2 of our books for free at the conference.
Now, for those of you that are going, okay, it's a conference. No,
nah,
it really
that's
isn't.
really a bad word.
It's music, comedy, and fun with biblical principles. And look at Josh and Kristy. They're like, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's music, comedy, and fun with biblical marriage principles sprinkled in.
Yeah,
and amazing food.
And it's so different than what you would think it would be. It is so fun, and yes, amazing food. Okay,
I was really impressed. I had never been to the Grand Hotel before. I've been to Mackinac Island a lot, and when we came to the event, it was last October or November.
Yeah.
October.
It was October.
Yeah, I was actually really impressed with how good the food was. And I'm really excited for this May. I don't know how different it's going to be now, but you guys have such a loyal following. And when we rode up on the first day, the carriage ride up, we shared the carriage ride with another couple. And they're like, we've been coming here for like 20 years and this is amazing, all this stuff. And then we saw them later on in the conference and they were like, how'd you like it? And I'm like, it's so good. This is so much fun. They're like, you haven't seen anything. They haven't even been able to do everything they normally do because of COVID. They're like, so you need to come back again. We were like, oh, okay. Yeah. So your people that come too are just loyal, like love.
Well, and what we tell people is, it's an investment in your marriage, and you can either invest proactively and do something that's positive for your marriage, or you can suffer the consequences of not doing something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
and how much does the divorce cost? I mean, really?
Not only in money, but in emotion and personal pain and all that.
So Sarah just said she's looking to register right after the podcast. So we need to meet her husband, who's the baby of the family. And we'll work all that out, Sarah, for you.
Yeah. They'll come with us.
They will. Yeah. We know them. We love them. They're good friends of ours. So this will be great. Yeah. This will be great. Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah, awesome. So it's awesome. So we really want to thank you guys for being on. So awesome. It's going to be surreal. Not only have we been able to go and experience you guys in, where you are in your teaching and you're entertaining and you're having fun, but now we get to have an opportunity to be able to serve others with you coming up April 10th. And we're so looking forward to that. So
so are we.
So thankful for you and for what you do for the Christian community, what you do to help encourage other marriage, couples, people that are really not understanding the power of really what it takes to make a healthy marriage and a God honoring marriage and just how important it is. So thank you so much. Hang on. So Sarah's got something she wants to say. Sorry. Dan will be there.
On the 10th.
She's
like, Dan's going to be there on
the 10th.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, Sarah. So we want to thank you guys so much for being on.
Our pleasure.
So if you have anything else you want to say today?
Yeah, Josh, what's your schedule like tomorrow for my website?
For your website?
Hang on after this, and because we're going to need to talk to you guys anyway about some awesome stuff.
Yeah, so don't hang up. All right.
Okay, we won't.
All right. Thanks again. We'll be right back. So we want to thank you guys so much for hanging in there. This was an incredible, this is one of these episodes that you're going to have an opportunity to go back and rewatch later. There's so much wisdom from Jay and Laura in here about marriages, about how important it is to put your spouse first. There's books they're naming in here. There's so much value that's inside this episode. I'm going to encourage you to share it out. Who is somebody right now? Who is somebody that's married that you think that really could find some type of benefit from this episode? We're going to encourage you to share it, tag them in it, and let them know, like, hey, you're going to want to listen. You're going to want to watch. This is so powerful. Or also, April 10th, get registered and don't forget about Celebrate Your Marriage.
Yes. And one thing I do have to say about them, though, is that what you see is what you get with them. And what is ever better if you meet anyone ever in your life is an authentic human being. And Josh and I had the pleasure of going and eating lunch with them at their home, you know, and we're thinking like, oh man, we're meeting these superstars. Like they're like superstars. And then you meet them and they're just like regular down to earth, hug on you, love you people. And that's even better because they're real, authentic, vulnerable people. So you really need to get connected with anywhere that they're going to be. You need to get connected with it.
Yeah. Thank you for being here, and tune in next week at 7. We'll be back to chat again.
That's right. Bye.
See ya.